How's it going, everyone? I hope all is well. Sorry for the shadows in the background. Now I know why Grand Thumb uses a black background in all of his videos. Not much I can do about the mic here. Can either have a shadow in the background or good audio, and this is what we got. So, welcome to the Bradlock55 YouTube channel. Today we're going to be talking about the Palmetto State Armory PA-15 AR-15 rifle. This is the 16-inch barrel. It's a mid-length gas system. Has a 15-inch M-LOK rail on it. The M-LOK does not include this piece on the top here. It's just the sides. Have some Picatinny up front, just for a short piece, as you can see. And I did a short video talking about, describing this build, just very strict, talking about everything that's on the rifle. And I wanted to kind of make a conclusion and give a short review of the rifle and the base that it provides and what I've been able to achieve with it and how I like it. So first of all, let's talk about the purpose behind this rifle and the purpose that it serves and the reasons for purchasing this rifle in the first place. Ever since COVID, and maybe as a result of the war breaking out in Ukraine and that sort of thing, a lot of people have in recent years and maybe in the past decade been concerned with preparing for the without rule of law or shit hit the fan scenario. And there's a reason why the AR-15 platform is so popular for this, and I think it does fit this role pretty well. You have something that's relatively compact that can shoot a 5.56 or 223 cartridge, which is a pretty effective round. It is something that you can carry a lot of, and you can reach out to long distances with it for its weight, for its carry weight. So that's what made it attractive to me. If you can tell by these glasses, I'm a little bit of a nerd. I did go to engineering school for some amount of time, don't have a degree though. So I know some math and I know some physics, and I am a big nerd, and I do care about lightweight, and as a backpacker, of course I care about lightweight as well. So anyhow, that's why ARs in general and 5.56 are good for that purpose. For me, without rule of law or shit hit the fan scenarios, I'm not going to be spending a lot of time in urban areas. I generally don't really feel at home in urban areas to begin with. I really love just being out in the woods. Everyone gets all excited about running to the mountains. I'm not saying that that's necessarily going to be the case, but I would, in a without rule of law scenario, and even if there's any kind of political disturbance or anything of that matter, usually it's downtown areas where there's a lot of rioting and that kind of thing. If you have real instability, me personally, I want to get to less populated areas. So that's where I see myself actually needing a rifle in that type of scenario. So for me, because of that, I'm not going to expect to be able to rely on a source of batteries, and I'm not going to, and I'm going to want to do a lot of positive ID. I do not want to engage any target unless it's absolutely necessary. That weighed really heavily. I want a platform that's extremely robust and reliable, and so these are the considerations I thought about. For me personally, I had some stipulations with how I wanted this build done. I wanted it to be as lightweight as possible for its capability, which is the goal with any build, I think, unless you just like carrying heavy things, I don't know. And then secondly, I wanted everything to be made in the US. Okay, so what did we end up with? I'm gonna collapse the stock here so it's a little bit easier to see. So if we go tip to butt like Granddaddy tells us to, just kept the regular AT flash hider on there. I think that's perfectly performant. For iron sights, I have Ultradyne C2s. I like them a lot. I'm able to make pretty decent hits. Maybe I'll roll in some film of me using these at the range. Oh. The range. Oh, and speaking of that, Looks like this back one needs a little bit of Loctite. It's got two diopter sizes in the back, but it's actually just like a screw in, which is a little bit weird. And that kind of backs out on you if you don't Loctite it, so make sure you do that, which I haven't done yet. Yeah, anyway, so they fold away. They're made in the US by seemingly a small company, I'm not sure. They make a better version of these, which are really cool looking. They look like they're extra heavy duty. They are toolless, and they also have a circle instead of just a pin for the front sight. So you're lining up two circles, two holes, and making them concentric, and then whatever's in the center of your front pin, that is your target. And I found that to be pretty fun to use, pretty easy to use, and nice to be able to actually see directly at your target. So big fan of these. They're pretty cool. Also, they're designed to fold down if you like hit them. They don't like lock super hard in place. At least I think so, unless I'm remembering like the Magpul sight thing. And either way, in either case, these definitely appear to do the same thing. They knock down if you really bash them into something, which is good. Next we have the Surefire G2x Light. This might be the only thing on here that isn't totally made in the US. I think it's assembled in the US. Either way, when I bought it, I was under the impression that it is made in the US. And it was 50 bucks. I'm really impressed with, for that price, the throw of this light. It's incredible, and for the weight too. Pretty lightweight package. In all, I had that mounted with a Magpul light mount on there. For a grip, I actually just 3D printed this grip. I did have to buy some Magpul M-Lock hardware in order to mount that, but yeah, it's basically like an AFG2 or Magpul AFG style grip that I just wanted to 3D print myself as practice. So yeah. Okay, then we're gonna go to optic, and this might be a little bit controversial. I think this optic weighs in at about a pound, but it is the Leupold VX Freedom 6-18 power by 40mm objective. So I showed this rifle to my one buddy, and he was like, wow, it looks like you decided to mount a gun to your scope, or something along those lines, something about having a ridiculously large scope that's about as big as the gun. It is a lot of scope, but there's some reasons behind it. First of all, it was $400. It was like a demo from eurooptic.com, which is a company here. I think it is based in PA, so that's kind of cool. Anyway, it's a 30mm tube, and just from like the amount of target practice that I've done with this, first of all, this is a scope that's designed for hunters, and hunters need their gear to be waterproof, bulletproof, completely knocked around a lot, and Leupold has a good reputation as far as that's concerned. But what's nice about this scope is it has parallax adjustment on the side. You can put a custom dial in it if you get the ballistic data and the chronograph, and chronograph your speeds for your particular rifle, and take your height over bore. That's pretty neat. I don't think I'll need to do that for this, but anyway, you can. You might be able to hear that. There's some very positive clicks for your elevation, which is nice, especially at this price point. It's very nice to be able to just directly click in your elevation and not necessarily need to use holdovers. This does have the tri-MOA reticle, so you can do holdovers and wind holds with the reticle, which is really nice, especially with 5.56. Having some wind holds is nice. Yeah, so the reason I went with such a heavy-duty optic is, like I said when I talked about purpose, and without rule of law scenario, the last thing you want to do is get into a gunfight. And I don't know shit about being in gunfights, but the only reason I say that is you're immediately giving away your position, and giving away your position is the first step to getting killed in any scenario. So I wanted something that, and also another thing too is obviously I wear glasses. Say something happened to my glasses or my contacts or whatever, with an optic that's this heavy duty, I can adjust it, you know, without my glasses on, and I can actually see, you know, I can make things out, and it can be an optic with just my naked eye, to help me, you know, get my bearings around me, which it would be pretty frightening if I didn't have my glasses and I was like in the woods alone or anything like that. So, you know, some might say like, you know, well, you could just carry like binos or something else, have a spotting scope. For me personally, the amount of time that you save by having a high power optic mounted directly onto your weapon in case you do need to use that weapon, that could save your life. So that's why I wanted to build this gun the way I have. There have been some of what you might call positive externalities from putting such a high power optic on an AR. This gun is so much fun to shoot, and I didn't even expect it to be this fun, but it is, especially with the trigger, which I'll get to. And being able to see your hits so clearly, and if you have like a really solid rest, like you can immediately see, you know, follow-up shots are pretty quick, and you can immediately see your hits on the target even at 200 yards. Target shooting with this scope and getting practice in at longer ranges is, by longer ranges I mean 200 yards for me. I haven't gone beyond that yet, but just because I don't have access to a range. But yeah, it just makes it a lot more fun to target practice without needing to like check a spotting scope or binos to see where your hits are at. So I think that's all I have to say about the optic. You know, it is heavy, I guess. It's 16 ounces, or, yeah, it's about a pound or something along those lines. But for me, totally worth it in the role, which I see it in, which is, you know, without roll law, and just a fun gun to have, and also a backpacking gun. One thing about without rule of law scenarios is that you want a rifle that's easily packable, and I have been able to put this into my Kafari backpack with just the muzzle barely sticking out. So that's pretty exciting to me that I've been able to put together a build that, you know, can fit into my bug out bag, something that I can actually put on my back and hike with it. And I have backpacked with this gun as well, like just for weight training and practice. And you know, I'm used to carrying a heavy pack. It's you know, with this in my pack, it doesn't feel crazy heavy or anything new to me whatsoever. It's just within the realm of what I'm used to carrying. So, you know, despite it being, you know, just a additional rifle in my pack, it's not that heavy. It's not overly heavy that I really notice it, which is great. Another reason I went with, you know, just straight up irons and a scope like this is I didn't want my optic to rely on batteries or electronics in any way, shape, or form. I didn't want to pay for, even if it was like an illuminated reticle that you didn't require it in order to aim at your point of impact. I wanted to be paying purely for good optics, durable optics, that did not, and no electronics, and things that didn't require batteries, because I don't want to be stuck in a situation where I don't have a capability that I would if I did have batteries and I'm not able to find them, if that makes any sense. So that's that. Next, let's talk about the trigger. This was a bit of a pricey upgrade for a budget build of this sort, but it was 100% worth it. It makes it so much more fun to shoot. So yeah, so I got the Geisley G2S trigger on here, and let's dry fire it. I did dry fire it already in the G2S installation video, but let's just do it. I'm doing that gingerly because my girlfriend's upstairs asleep, so we're clear. It is just super crisp. It is a super crisp trigger. Yeah, I love the trigger. When I first got the rifle, I was not super impressed with the trigger that was on it, and I've heard all about like mil-spec AR triggers. I was like, oh, I guess I just got to get used to this. I have a lot of advancement and progression and improvement to do in my shooting ability. It's just a fact. I wish I shot better. I'm trying to spend more time at the range and more time focusing on my squeezing and taking my time with my shots and not rushing them, not anticipating the shot and that kind of thing. But this trigger makes it a lot easier. It makes you suck less. So yeah, big fan of that. The stock is the same MOE stock that came on the gun. It's nice and lightweight, nothing fancy to it. The only thing I do hate about it is it does pull out your mustache hairs like crazy. It does suck for that, that's for sure. I don't know of any quick way to fix that other than trimming back my mustache, but that sucks. So not much I can do. I think the grip is stock as well. I have some batteries shoved up in there. Nothing else really fancy about that. Last thing is a sling and the sling mount setup. So I just have a Magpul, very basic sling here. It is pretty high quality. It's made in the US. I like it. And then I have a Magpul. I have a Magpul M-Lock sling mount mounted up here with a paracord attachment to the sling, just so that's quiet. And I think that's it. Oh, another thing you'll notice, I do have alumina, loopholed alumina scope covers on here. I did not include that in the build pricing or anything like that because I already had these before I got the build. The set that I have here, they fit any VX Freedom scope with a 40mm objective. I have 3 VX Freedom scopes with a 40mm objective, so that's pretty awesome. And those will just keep moisture and debris out of your scope, off your scope lenses while you're not using the scope. So I found that to be pretty important in a build like this as well. One thing I forgot to mention, with these, some of these loopholed scopes, they do not come with a locking dial. That would be pretty important. And I've actually had it happen to me on my hunting rifles where if you don't have something protecting this dial in some way, you might have the rifle slung over your shoulder and you could accidentally somehow turn this dial. And I've actually had it happen to me this past hunting season. It turned the dial so far, there's numbers on here, and it turned it a full half rotation. So I didn't know if it was if I had to turn it back down or back up, if that makes sense. I didn't know which way to turn it to get it back to 0, and I just took a guess, and I was like, okay, I guess I better take a practice shot and see if it's on, and it was totally off. So that is one big flaw of these scopes. They're doing what they can for the price. Something that I've been working on is a scope dial cover, something I'm 3D printing. So I had a version, but it's not working with small clearances between the scope mount and in this particular application it doesn't work. So that's something you'll probably see an update video on in the future. Also, as far as optics go, I forgot to mention that I have the Aero Precision, I think it's called the Ultralight SPR or Sapper scope mount. They have 3 different versions of it, and this is the Sapper, which allows you to best compensate for your eye relief with the scope. So I've been pretty happy, very happy with how this is set up and where my eye relief is and all of that. So very important thing to me is with a build like this, kind of built for longer range applications, is accuracy. And I finally, after a lot of testing with a lot of different rounds, in fact, let me get all the boxes of different stuff that I shot. We have Norma Tactical 5.56, 62 grain. This is SS 109, right? Yeah, SS109. We have Sierra 223 Remington, 69 grain bullets. Those did not shoot very great, surprisingly. We have Winchester M193 and some Frontier 55 grain. And surprisingly, to my surprise, also have some Winchester M855 and then a bunch of Winchester M193. And surprisingly, of all of it, the thing that shot the best is Norma 223 55 grain rounds. Last thing that I expected, but it's actually kind of awesome. And I'm wondering if Palmetto State Armory purposefully tuned this rifle. Maybe I'm giving them too much credit, and I know a lot of people love to shit on PSA. I don't know why, but I'm wondering if they tuned this rifle purposely for 55 grain rounds. I'm not sure. That's typically cheaper stuff to shoot. And amazingly, Norma 55 grain 223 is the cheapest stuff I can find right now. And their price has gone up a little bit. I think a couple months ago it was 50 cents a round. But the fact that this gun shoots that the best is super exciting to me. I mean, that's excellent. I do have a ton of Winchester M193 that does not shoot great, and I'm generally just not impressed with their product, unfortunately. I try to buy USA made ammo, but the Winchester M193, a lot of the cases, unfired cases have dents in them. I've heard people complain about you don't get exactly the number of rounds that they sell you because they do it by weight. Norma ammunition is made in Sweden, I believe, so it could be a lot worse. It could be China, it could be whatever. I don't have too much of a problem with supporting Sweden. I just wish it was made in the U.S. And I know that Norma's moving a lot of their ammunition manufacturing to the U.S., so something to consider. But anyway, so let's talk about accuracy with this rifle. This is from today, and after a lot of practice and a lot of trying different rounds and everything, this is about the best group. I've probably gotten one or two other groups that were the same. Okay, so this is a 2 3/4 inch group at 100 yards. Pretty impressed with that. Pretty happy with that. And then also today, I had the wind shifting a little bit, but this then is at 200 yards. Same Norma 223 55 grain. I'll probably roll in some footage. But for me, for a rifle that's $600, $620, if you're someone that's great with iron sights, you could buy that rifle. It comes with Magpul MOE rifles or iron sights. You could put a freaking light on that thing and you'd be good to go. I mean, of course you have a heavier trigger, but if you're someone that's trained and used one of them, if you put thousands of rounds on a trigger like that, for well under $1,000, you have a very effective rifle. Conclusion of this build, I am impressed. I'm a first-time AR owner. I am very impressed with what you get for $620, whatever the going rate is for PSAs at this point. I am happy with it. There was a time where I wasn't super happy with the upper. I was like, I would like to get a little bit more velocity. I would like to get a little bit more accuracy at range, a little bit more accuracy in general at 100 yards, say. That'd be really exciting to me. And I was looking at some aero precision uppers and that kind of thing. But seeing that 2 3/4 inch group at 100 yards, for the purpose of this rifle, it's not easy for me to do, but I'm pretty well able to just say this build's complete, and I'm pretty stoked with it. I'm sure one day when I have a bunch of money to throw around for no reason, I'll just build another AR or something else. But for the performance per dollar, the build that I have here in the application that I see it filling, I'm happy with what I've decided. Curious to hear your comments. Feel free to leave them below. I like hearing from you guys, and I've gotten a lot of positive comments lately. I just really appreciate you guys. Thank you for those. Never expected to get any positive comments on YouTube, so thank you. But take care, have a great day, and if you have any questions, let me know.